like Promise. Oh, okay, being recorded. I was involved with Promise, with PAC, IEEE, IISC, SES, several of them. Also, three things that make me happy are volleyball, food, and Mickey Mouse. You can see it right here in the background already. I always carry around my little three-headed mouse with me. My current role, I will currently work with Cameron Islamic Company. I'm currently an inventory and logistics manager. I'm also part of the SHPE Professional Chapter as a special projects coordinator. Two quotes that I live by are just keep going, and that's mainly from my dad. It's always been a quote that he's been telling me since I was this big, since I was very little. He's always telling me, never give up, keep on going. There's an obstacle, just keep on going. It's always going to be something stopping you on the way, but there's always a way around it. And since I'm a very Disney fanatic, if you can dream it, you can do it. As long as you have a goal, a dream, and you work towards it, never give up, are determined, and always have that goal in mind and work all your way through it, you're going to be able to achieve anything that you have in mind. A little bit about myself regarding leadership experience. My first internship happened back in 2015. I started off with Cameron prior to it got acquired by Schlumberger. Did my 3 months with them, and then graduated and received the full-time opportunity with them during the GRDP rotational program. It's a 2-year rotational program where you're able to be exposed to different areas in the industry. My first year, I was exposed to OneSubsea and drilling equipment off in Warwick, Louisiana, where I was doing my manufacturing engineering role and my quality engineering role. And then the next year, I got relocated back to Texas, to Katy, Texas, in the Elastomer facility, where I was able to see all the packing and sealing that goes inside the BOP, and did my supervisory role as well as my materials role. When I was done with my 2 years of the program, I was given the opportunity to be a warehouse supervisor, did that for 2.5 years. And then I was given the opportunity to go back to being a production supervisor full time, did that for about 7 months. And then after that, earlier this year, I was given our opportunity to be a value stream manager with the Stafford plant, what I'm currently am right now. And it's more over the valves product. So now I'm learning totally different aspect and totally different product line. And recently in July, I was promoted to logistics and inventory management. And that's a little bit about myself. And then I'll be available for other questions that you guys may have.
What's that on your picture?
Which one? Oh, that.
Yeah.
Since some of you guys are studying right now, wild guesses of what that might be. Anyone in the audience, y'all can type it, y'all can speak it up. Any guesses as to what that could be?
I feel so bad. I am a mechanical. I don't know. I'm supposed to know about it.
I think petroleum engineers might know a little bit more about this.
A little bit. Mm-hmm. No wild guesses?
Any petros on the call?
Don't be shy. There's no right or wrong answer.
Iron?
Somebody says drill hole.
A drill hole. I mean,
hole?
It does got to do with drilling and a hole and oil rig. So yes, so that on the picture is a packer that is done. I don't know if you guys have seen the Deepwater Horizon movie. In the beginning, there's like a little product you can see like opening and closing. So through that hole is where the pipe goes. So that under specific pressures, it will cut the pipe in half and it will stop anything from blowing up. That's what it is.
Oh, that's like what it is.
Yeah, like a little big mouth that like under pressure it closes and whoop, it closes the pipe from anything from exploding.
That's really interesting.
So we did seals of that big to like little tiny cute little rings. So it was a good experience.
That is so awesome.
Thank
you very much, Rosie. Thank you very much, Rosie. It was a really, really good experience. So everybody else, let's give it up to our Cindy.
Hola, everyone. Good evening. So again, my name is Cindy Sanchez. I am also, I have a lot of similarities with Rosie's story. So some of this you might be like, okay, they're kind of like two peas in a pod. So also proud native Houstonian. My roots are in Mexico and El Salvador. So my mom's Mexican, my dad's Salvadoran. I also graduated with a bachelor's in industrial engineering in 2017. So just a year after Rosie. And fun facts about me, I love my 3 T's, which actually Rosie helped me set that up for me. Like, okay, Cindy and her 3 T's. What are the 3 T's? That's traveling, training, and tapioca. So as a fire sign would, because we love traveling and whatnot, and anime. So I do have a little chibi version of Urza. She's from Fairy Tale. If you know, you know. And then, so my current role in Schlumberger, I am a project coordinator for subsea production systems. So all of the equipment that goes offshore, that goes in the rigs, underwater, so subsea, everything that's on the seabed, the sea floor, I deal with that equipment and I manage those projects. So again, I'm at One Subsea, which is a Schlumberger company. And then a little bit about my leadership experience. So in SHPE, so I was there from 2011 to 2017. So that was 6 years. And I did a couple of leadership positions while I was there at school. So at SHPE, I was a freshman rep, also now known as new member representative for you guys. I was president for a year. I moved into a career fair chair. I was actually the first career fair chair because before 2014, I believe, only SWE and NSBE were part of the career fair committee. So we made a case for SHPE to be a part of that because we do have the capacity to send the amount of volunteers that are needed to run the career fair, as you guys still do. So I went ahead with that. At the same time, since career fair is only, for a certain period of time, then I got the chance to run for vice RSR, and I got that opportunity. While at the same time, I joined the RLDC planning committees for 2015. That was in Denton, Texas, and then 2016 was here in Houston. So I kept myself pretty busy, mainly because I love SHPE. It's given me so much, and I love the mission and vision, what we stand for. And just from the beginning, from the moment I started and I went to the freshman orientation, I knew that that was the main organization that I wanted to be a part of. So other organizations, the main ones, I was a part of a lot of them, but if I were to list them here, I would have taken up the entire slide. So I do have MIAS. I was a publicity chair, Promise Action Committee, which I believe no longer exists in that same capacity. But I did a couple of roles there. And then in Phi Sigma Rho, which is the engineering sorority, I was vice president external, among a few other roles. And then I'm still active with them as an alumni. I was the events chair, and I still help them out with some volunteering events and fundraising for scholarships at the Phi Sigma Rho chapter at the school. In terms of SHPE Houston Professional, I've been a part of it since I graduated, because if you guys did not know, if you are a member and you graduate, you get a free year of the professional membership. So make sure that you guys take advantage of that. So starting off my professional career, I decided to do the special projects coordinator role. And then I jumped into, or actually I took a year hiatus because I went to Oklahoma City for work, which I'll get into in a second. And then I came back and I filled the secretary role, and then jumped into the vice president internal role last year. And I am still the vice president internal for a second term this year. And then in Schlumberger, I do not limit myself to just SHPE or outside of work organizations. I also take a leadership role at work in the form of a diversity campus manager. So I do help all of our campus managers run a diversity, equity, and inclusion events. We did have 2 conferences this year already. In terms of diversity and inclusion as the focus. So I keep myself pretty busy, and I try to give back to the organizations that I feel helped me get to where I am today. And then some of my pictures, before I get to my quote and advice, some of my pictures, the top left, you'll see me working on actually one of the annular packers that Rosie was talking about. So I was at Brookshire at the same time that Rosie was there for her second year in the rotational program. And I was a first year. So it was really cool getting to be a part of the rotational program as well. While Rosie was in her second year, I was in my first year. So she was kind of mentoring me there. And we had actually switched roles because I mentored her in college, and now she got the chance to mentor me. And I was very lucky to have her there with me. And then on the right, you'll see myself with 3 other really cool dudes, and they were all freshman representatives. So that was 4 generations of freshman representatives, now new member representatives, as you guys know it. And that was really cool. The guy in purple is Jonathan Cortez, and he was the freshman rep when I started as a freshman, and he's the one who actually recruited me. So I thought it'd be really cool to include him on here. And then the last picture that I have on there was the first time in chapter history that we won a large chapter of the year nationwide. And that was a really cool experience. Ooh, somebody charged 100%. But yeah, that was really cool. And that was at Indianapolis. And then getting on to my favorite quote and advice, if you could go ahead. So, ponte las pilas. I know it's very cliche, but honestly, this has been the quote that I have lived by. I mean, I have heard it since I was little, you know, in elementary school, middle school, high school, even when I didn't know exactly what college was, a major, because I'm also a first-gen student and my parents didn't go to school here. So coming from that background, I mean, I had a lot of work to do. I had a lot of research to do for myself. So I had to, like my mom said, ponte las pilas, and that's what I had to do. And then advice also, find your why. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about your career, your professional development, your leadership development. If you're thinking like, oh, I should run for, you know, a chair position next year or an executive board position next year. Okay, that's cool and all, but find your why. If you find your why and, you know, you become honest with yourself and you say, you know what, I want this role because I want to be able to give back, or I want to, you know, I want that as a stepping stone so that later on I can do something else with that experience. Okay, cool. But if you just do it just to do it, like, oh, well, it'll be another thing on my resume. Do you really think that you're going to be a good leader for the organization, right? Because as a leader, you cannot be selfish. When you're a leader in any organization, not just in SHPE, you should have that servant leadership mentality, right? Because you're not there to have authority. You're there to help influence the direction of the organization, the direction of the events, the direction of whether it's, like I said, academics, professional development, career development, chapter development, right? Even if it's just a social. What is your why? And you'll be able to get far that way. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you really much, Cindy, for all of that. You know, it gave me a lot of reflection. And you know, I didn't know that you was a new member rep or freshman rep because I wanna call her out in the call because we have Taimi here that she was a new member rep and now she was a president, and now she's the president as well. And you know, whenever we meet in person, Cindy, we should take a picture between me,
Let's
you,
do
and
it.
Taimi and Amaury, because that is also 4th generation of new member reps.
Let's do it. You're not a copycat of me. You are Taimi. You are your own self, your own legacy. Come on, let's go.
Well, she was a Chef Junior chair instead of career fair chair.
Okay.
So
That's a good story. We might have similarities, but you are you and I am me.
Perfect. All right. So thank you very much to Cindy and Rosie for introducing yourself. And you know, it was a great chance to hear from your leadership story. And for now, we come to you know, the biggest part of our forum today is to discuss about different leadership topics. So for everybody in the call, we're gonna discuss about 4 leadership topics today, and that is people management, emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, and leading in a male-dominated industry. So let's dive into the first one, people management. So by definition, which I found on Wikipedia or on Google, is people management is the ability to train, motivate, and direct team members to optimize productivity and promote personal growth. And from this, I would like to hear more about the story from both of you, Cindy and Rosie, since you have a lot of experience in people management. So my first question for you is, from your experience, what are the key skill sets when it's come to people management?
Yes, I'll go first. So I think what's really key for people management in my experience has been you have to be relatable. You have to be relatable, and you have to learn how to talk to people. Because and I think I've said this before, and if you've heard me in other workshops or panels, you'll hear me say the way that I speak to Rosie is not the same way I speak to Diane, is not the same way that I speak to Huang, right? So you need to be able to talk to people in different ways and also be relatable. In my experience, I was a warehouse supervisor in one of my rotational or in one of my rotations in Oklahoma City. And I was the only girl. I was in a warehouse full of guys. I think it was a group of 15 tops. And, everybody's been there for a while, and little old me only has 1 year of industry experience. And I'm over here, I'm supervisor now, right? So how did I get their buy-in to help me? Well, I showed them that I try to establish that rapport with them one-on-one and let them know that, hey, I'm here, yes, as a supervisor, but I can't do my job unless I learn from you, right? Tell me about you. What are your challenges? How can I help you do your job or your tasks easier? It also helped that I was out there actually picking orders. I was, getting down and gritty, and I wasn't, just, oh, I'm at the office, don't talk to me, I'm the supervisor, right? I was actually getting to know them, trying to see how I can make their lives easier when it came to work. And that really made a difference in them opening up to me and accepting me as one of their own, as one of their coworkers, and respected me through that. Also, I knew that, okay, I have to talk a certain way. So to the older guys in the industry, I wasn't going to talk to them like, hey, what's up? They're going to be like, who is this youngin? Who's this girl? So I had to learn like, oh, hi, how are you? Be more proper. And then also to like the guys that are younger, we're closer in age. I feel like we could be a little cooler. I don't have to be as formal, as proper. But at the same time, you have to establish that what's the line between like, oh, yes, we're cool, we're friends, and also like, okay, I'm your supervisor and I'm trying to watch out for you, but also you have to respect me with the same respect that I respect you with. So that's my advice.
Yeah, for me, it will mainly be you go in to gain the people's trust and going with a very positive attitude. So yes, it's intimidating when you are used to just working like solo, you're given an assignment and then you go off and just do it and then your boss is like, you cool. But then you take a position that an opportunity may come up and they're like, you're gonna start overseeing a group of 8 people, of 20 people, of 40 people. So then it's a completely different story because like Cindy was saying, you deal with so many different personalities. There are the people that go in there and they have that mentality, like, I'm gonna just go do it. I'm gonna go do whatever they tell me to do, no issues. There's gonna be people that are gonna give you trouble. They're just there and they have a bad attitude, there's something happening bad at home or something happening bad at work, and they bring that negative attitude to work. You're gonna deal with a variety of different personalities. The thing is to go there with a humble personality, meaning don't go there just with the attitude of I'm an engineer, I'm gonna tell you what to do, you do this, I'm right, you're wrong. That's the very first thing that you should not be doing. You go there and you're going to learn from each and every one of those individuals because they have been doing this for 25, 30 plus years. They've been doing this. So the first thing you have to do is gain their trust. So for that, you have to go out there, work with them hand on hand. If they see that you dedicate the time to what they're doing, that you're interested in what they're doing, they're going to open up to you and you're going to start building that bond and sort of family friendship going on at work. Then therefore is going to go and guide you to be more of a good leader and at the same time a good follower. Because that was actually one of the questions they asked me in one of my interviews. Do you rather be a follower or a leader? And in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. So main thing, go there with a positive attitude and be humble. Positive being, yes, it's going to be some hard days, but there's always a way to get at doing something. There's going to be some hardships. There's going to be always something that can stop you from doing it, but there's always a way around it. As engineers, we have that mentality of trying to solve the problem. And we are somehow, all engineers are built in their mind to think of a different way, think outside the box. So that's why they hire us to be more of the leadership positions, because we have those people skills, that ability to connect with people, especially when we're Hispanic. People out in the shop, some of them are older guys, they feel more comfortable talking to women or men that know how to speak Spanish, because they can articulate what they're trying to say, but when they see us or they hear us saying Spanish, they're like, oh, eres Latina. I'm like, yeah, ¿qué onda? ¿Dónde eres? ¿Qué eso de México? No, pues ¿qué comiste tacos? Y comienzas a, you have that relationship going with everyone. And that makes it easier for you to be able to bond with the people and easily be able to work together to make something change in the company.
Amazing. Thank you for the story. So my next question for you in this topic is, so we have been going on virtual for the past 2 years already. So how do you keep up with your team productivity in a virtual setting?
Rosie, I'll let you start.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So being with production, I haven't really had the chance to do much of virtual. Ever since this whole virus began, with us being production, we really couldn't have our workers work from home because they were operators, so they had to be at the presses. And now that I'm in another position, it's a little bit easier to work from home. Before, it was just being at the facility, being there every day, but we used to have some days that we had to work from home because there were cases of coronavirus at the plant. So the way that we did it, we used a lot of the team sites that we use a lot nowadays, Zoom, a lot of the phone calls, and it was very like nerve-wracking for me because I'm more of the doer that is doing stuff at work. So for me to be able to accommodate to just the virtual, it was very hard for me at first because I was always used to being out there with the guys. Like there was a problem, I would just put my boots and hard hat and then head out to the shop. But then when something came up, I was at home and I was like, con los nervios en punta with the cell phone. I'm like, I need to see what you're doing because I'm not seeing it. But over time, you get accustomed to it and you just adapt to the new norm or the new us right now. So we will have our meetings on Teams or Skype, and we will have our metrics there. Everyone would speak up in a specific format. It was a little bit more organized. At first, it was like a little bit all over the place because we're trying all to understand and trying to adapt to it. But eventually, we just had our normal meetings all through here, our phone calls, and then we started slowly integrating into having to work 2 days a week at home or having to go on site, depending on how it was. But during my supervising, because of the role that I had, I didn't really have much of the option to work from home. Right now, I do have the option to work from home, but some of my team members, they do work from home. I don't because I'm used to going to work every day. And we're a very small facility where it's only like about 15 to 16 people. So we don't really run the risk anymore being a warehouse, but we do use a lot of the online tools that we have with Teams, with GroupMe, with WhatsApp. We have a lot of technology now that we are adapting to.
Yeah.
What do you, Cindy?
Thanks. So I'm actually on the other side of that. As soon as they sent us home, I believe on the second week of March, which actually it was timed right for me because I had a surgery the first week of March of last year. So I was already working from home for a week-ish when they told us, okay, everybody's working from home until further notice. And at the time I was already in the current role that I'm in now, which is project coordinator. As someone in project management, you don't actually go out and do stuff in the facility. And first off, I'm not even at a facility anymore. I'm at corporate, I'm in an office. Right. So for us, it's very easy to work from home because the basis of our work is conference calls or in-person meetings, which then turn into just conference calls. At the time we had Skype, we have migrated over to Teams. So now we use Teams, SharePoint for all of our documents. And it was very easy for us to make that, that change until it comes to the actual assembly and testing of our deliverables. Once it gets to that, usually the project managers or the project coordinators go out to our facility out in Louisiana, and we're there in case anything happens, like, oh, we're missing some parts. We need to, you know, go procure those. We applied too much pressure, and now we have an NCR. So this part needs to be looked at by quality, and we need to figure out, we need to talk to engineering, figure out what can happen, which technically all of this can happen through virtually, through calls and emails, but it is a slower process than when you're just there in person, like, okay, I know who to talk to, let me go talk to this person right now. Oh, I can't reach them. Well, let me just chill out here for a few minutes, or ask if somebody saw them, let me go talk to them, and get right then and get down to, you know, the root cause right then and there, and figure out a game plan. So it has delayed us in a few things, but with that we learn, right? So, and then also we have adapted in the sense that whenever we do testing, and let's say our customer they have to witness that testing or whatever process they're doing, welding, etc. We have, I forgot what it's called, but we have set out a couple of different platforms and programs to where they can stream the tests that's going on live. I think it's the same, basically the same technology that we use for our virtual tours, but we just apply it for our testing, assembling, welding, all the different processes that visitors have to be there for, which they can't be there in person now because they have closed it down due to Delta, but at the time also just regular COVID. So that's how we've adapted. It has taken a toll in our group collaboration, I will say. That is a big challenge, just because we don't see each other every day anymore, like within the project management group. We don't see each other anymore. So if we're not on the same projects, we won't usually talk to each other, share our knowledge, you know, like lessons learned, or tidbits on new processes that we might see on across different projects. It's harder for us to get together to do that, but our managers have stepped up, and we now have a weekly group meeting for 30 minutes where we kind of go over, like, okay, who's new to the team, who's leaving the team, who has a different role now, who's on what project. And then at the end of every session, we get to know, this week it's my turn, so I will talk about my project and what I'm doing for 5 minutes. And that way people know, oh, I didn't know Cindy was working on the ENI Allegheny project. Oh, I didn't know she was working on trees. Or I didn't know she was still a part of the group. You know, whatever the case may be, everybody is more in the know. And we have regular evaluations too, which help us, like quarterly evaluations, which I think not a lot of teams have. So, but we've started to kick it up because we want to be more cohesive.
Thank you very much, Cindy. And let's move on to our next topic. So the next topic is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand your own and others' emotion, how they drive behavior, and how they use knowledge to motivate others. And the question that I have for you, and actually this is from the audience that we gathered from the RCP, is that, did you ever feel discouraged? If so, how did you deal with it and prevent yourself from feeling that way again? And how did you deal with stress from various factors?
I cry. No, I'm kidding, I don't. So one thing that Cindy did mention at the beginning is to have someone that you can vent with. Always have your one person, whether it could be a coworker, a family member, your significant other, your dog, someone you can have there at any time when something comes up. Because trust me, I've had some hard days. I always keep this little bubbly smile, because there's some hard days that are just going to happen, and it's part of life. It's not normal. But one thing I do recommend is have your person at work or someone that you can really go to and just get it all out. Get it all out. You can also exercise. or do something that you like. I mean, go play volleyball, go play soccer, go do video game or Clash of Clans, whatever gets your stress off of you. Do that, whether after work and during work. If you're the person that just keep it to yourself, maybe go do some exercise. I know a lot of people like to go release some stress while doing exercise, or there's so many activities that you could do. But for me, one thing that has worked whenever I'm stressed or too overwhelmed with something, I would just stop, take a breath, because the issue is going to remain there regarding if I'm thinking with a fresh mind or not. It's going to stay there. So just stop what you're doing, go take a walk, take a breather, vent it out, and just try to recuperate your mentality into something stable, because when you come back, it might be something that was a very easy thing to do, and you can just always refresh your memory for that. But yes, for me, it has always worked with having someone to vent to that I can have, because maybe they also went through the same thing that I have gone through, and they would tell me like something that they used to cope with that type of stress. But it's always normal that you feel overwhelmed, and it's okay. You may take it out, when you go to the restroom, you want to cry, go ahead, but something that will relieve you so you can think clearly. For me, it has worked with having someone to vent with.
I've basically done the same. I either go work out or I talk to one of my other coworkers within the project management group, and I'm like, I'm having an issue with this person in quality because they won't do this, or that's their scope of, or that's their responsibility, right? And usually they help me through that. I talk to my manager openly. I say, look, I'm frustrated because XYZ. I can't seem to get too far into this. And then he'll help me, or he'll guide me to talk to the person that can help me. So I'm very open in communication, which is very important, because then your manager knows exactly where you're at, if they can give you more responsibilities, or if they have given you too many responsibilities, then they can help you lighten that load. I know that's the case for me. I've actually gotten too much to do within the last couple of months, because I was already on one project at the start of this year. And then in April, I got a second one, because it was the first one was pretty slow, but then the second one actually is turning out to be more of a monster than we all realized. So now, and I'm in constant communication with my manager. I'm like, look, I'm swamped. I feel like I can't get a lot done because I'm focusing all on my second project, nothing on the first project, just the bare minimum. And I become disappointed in myself. And I think that was the first question, right, Huang? Like, how do you deal with disappointment? So I have this thing where I just feel like if I don't focus 100% of my energy into, said project or anything that I'm working on, I am disappointed with how it comes out. So that's something that I have communicated with my manager. Look, I am getting to a point where I'm not focusing enough time to either of them, and I feel like I'm half-assing it. And I don't want to do that, because I know that I'm a hard worker. I can do this. Like, it's not something out of my potential. I just do not have the time to do everything. And he knows that. He has seen this through my work ethic, through my way of communicating, my transparency. I know sometimes, depending on your manager, you might not want to tell your manager certain things, but you also have to be authentic. You have to be, and that is who I am. I will tell you flat out, look, I don't have enough time in the day to be able to help you with this, but if you still need help next week, I can do it. Or to my manager, look, I don't think I can get this change order out by today when you needed it, because I'm taking care of XYZ. Unless you want me to reprioritize, then I can give this to you next week. Like, let's figure something out. And that's helped me a lot. And then whenever something already happened and I'm disappointed in myself, I take the time to regroup. So I kind of shut everything off. I get off my phone, the computer, everything, and I take some time to reflect, right? So what is it? Why am I disappointed? Am I disappointed because I could have done more? If that's the case, okay, then what's stopping me? What are my obstacles? Were those priorities? If they're not, then why did I prioritize them? Or if it was something out of my control, okay, it's out of my control. I couldn't have done anything to prevent that. I cannot stop. I cannot keep wasting time feeling disappointed over something that I could not control. I just have to learn to accept it and move on. And then to make myself feel better, I kind of list out things that I've done in the past that have made me proud of my efforts, of everything that I've done. And in a way, I just kind of remind myself of who I am and what my capabilities and potential is. And me pongo las pilas, and then we keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember when I first started this current role, but when I first started in Valve, I was so accustomed to what I used to do in KD. Like I knew everything from the beginning to the end, and people would overwork me. When I came to this new role, I had to be a manager over a product that I had no idea about, people that I didn't really know well, and I had to go and manage them. And I was like, oh, well, here we go back to square one. So what am I going to do? And then 2 weeks in, when I got there, my manager, who was going to be mentoring me, he told me, hey, guess what? I got a promotion. I'll be heading out to Oklahoma City. And I was like, bro, you were going to be my mentor. Like, he's going to leave me here con todo este responsabilidad tan grande with all these people that I'm barely getting to know. You're going to leave me halfway. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué onda? But it happens sometimes. They had to take and grow and keep growing on in the company. So you have to take, como dices, ponte las pilas, but don't give up and just do it. Yes, it's going to be overwhelming at first because it's a new product, it's new information, it's very new processes. So yes, I was overwhelmed. But just because it was too much or new information, no me voy a quedar así frisada y ya me voy a morir o algo. No, you have to block that mentality and just think like, this is how it was when I was in GRDP. The same thing. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the products. I didn't know the people that I was going to be working with. We all start from scratch, but slowly we start putting one piece and this piece, this add together. Okay, poquito, and then you start building those pieces into one. So you use that engineering design mentality because we're all built up to do it. So slowly and surely you get to connect all those pieces, and eventually you get that energy as well. But if you freak out, don't be afraid to just stop what you're doing and then go get a refresher. Yes, I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was scared when I took this position, but I had the advantage that I have great friends. I have people that I can vent to. I can go and take a walk, and the people that I work with, they're all very open to helping me out. And what I have any questions, they're gonna help me and try and connect those pieces. I had a good, even though my manager left 2 weeks after I was there, I was still able to get a little bit of mentoring before he left and a little bit after he left, but over slowly we just started connecting everything. But yes, there were some days I was there and I'm like, what am I doing? But I was like, all right, I'll connect this little by little. And right now I'm still learning since now I have another role. So now that I was getting the hang of my other role, they're like, hey, here you go, you got promoted. I'm like, oh great, now I'm gonna start from scratch again. But you just start in doing the same type of steps. Start from the bottom, start building, start asking questions. You freak out, stop, to take a breather, and then come back and then just keep on that ladder. Yes, you're gonna stress out. We're all humans, it's part of life, but just stop, breathe, and everything's gonna be okay. You just keep on going, and eventually you get, and everything will click to you.
One last thing on stress, get massages. Even if it's like, get some friends, because I know massages can be expensive, but I don't know, have a massage party with your friends, just do like upper body, you know, like upper, what is it called? Upper back on your shoulders. Trust me, get those knots out, because I just got one this past weekend and I should have been getting them every quarter at least. Just letting you know.
Or go out to eat with friends during work.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have our social chair in the call. So Javi, I don't know, could be an idea. No, but thank you so much for sharing your story and be so open about sharing everything about the stress on and your mistakes and just everything. I think it's a really good conversation. So I know that we're approaching 7:50 already. So I want to ask you both to respect your time. Do you mind if you can stay on the call for like about 30 more minutes until like 8:30, and everybody else in the audience, you know, if you drop, it's fine. We have the recording. But I really want to keep this conversation going, and we want to cover the conflict resolutions and then the last topic, and we also want a Q&A as well. So stay tuned with us.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much to both. So moving on to conflict resolution. So conflict resolution is the ability to identify and handle conflicts efficiently and fairly. So as your experience as managers or in nonprofit organizations as well, so have you ever been in a situation where you feel like all teammates or the whole world are against you, and how do you resolve it?
I can go with this one. So
Yeah.
I remember when I first took over the warehouse, I was fresh out of my GRDP program, like literally fresh out, like 2 weeks in. The current warehouse supervisor, he had been off to Romania for some black belt training. So he didn't really get to train me much. Second week, I remember I came in like nice and chill with my little Starbucks coffee. And then one of my warehouse men were like, ma'am. And I'm like, what's up? What happened? They're like, there was a fight this morning. I'm like, what you mean a fight? Like a fight? They're like, yeah, check out the camera. And I put out the cameras, and apparently at like 20 minutes before I got there, my receiving lead got into a very aggressive verbal disagreement with another warehouse guy in the receiving area. So I'm like, really? This had to happen to me in my second week just when I took this position? Like, why? But anything that's with supervising, with managing people in general, there's always going to be those type of issues, right? So I'm like, what do I do? I've never had this before happen to me. I'm going to go with my instinct of what I think is right. So I brought my receiving lead in. I'm like, what happened? He spilled the beans that he started, blah, 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 blah. I heard his story. I'm like, all right, thank you. I'll get back to you. He went away, and then I brought the other guy. I'm like, okay, tell me your side of the story. And then he told me everything, spilled his guts out, and I'm like, all right, I got this side, I got this side. All right, it seems like they're at a disagreement between them. It's not much with me. Let me handle it the best way that I know. So I brought them both into my office, closed the door, and I'm like, all right, y'all have at it. One was here, one was here, one was here. I was just literally there in the middle, just eating my popcorn while they got all of their venting out on each other. Took about like 10 minutes or so. And then once they were done, I'm like, are y'all done? And they're like, yeah. They were all like nice and calm. And I'm like, all right, now y'all gonna hear me both out. So los regañé, like little kids. Sometimes that's how it is with when dealing with people. It's like you're dealing with 5-year-olds sometimes. But it was over something so simple. I think it was like one part that didn't have some paperwork. I don't even remember exactly the issue, what it was. But it's one thing that you have to know is how to listen to people. One thing that you hear them, but another thing that you listen to them. Hearing them is you just hear the noise, but listening carefully is you hear the noise and you process what they were saying. So once they were done, I spoke with them both and told them this better be the last time this happens. If there's a miscommunication, let me know. Bring me into this. Don't just do this verbal disagreement and sit in front of the whole warehouse, because that's not the right way to do this stuff. So spoke with them. Ever since after that, they both seem to be calmed down, and they brought me, and whenever there was like a disagreement, they will come and tell me, hey, this happened. I'm like, okay, let me go talk, and I will be there present with them. So that was one of the ones that I remember really good with conflict resolution. And another one also was one of my receiving guys as well. It was during the time with the whole racism that was going on. One of the drivers called one of my warehouse men the N-word. Plainly said it out loud. And it also happened before I got there. It always happened before I got there, like 10 minutes or 20 minutes before I got there.
They know you don't stand for that crap.
No, siempre con mi Starbucks, dude, every time it happened. So then it was Starbucks something. So I got there too. And then the same guy came here, ma'am. And I'm like, oh, now what happened? There's like, there's a fight going on, y que me arranco pa fuera running. I saw a hard hat on the floor, some paperwork just flying off, wet in the ground. And I saw my receiving guy was about to hit the other driver in the head. So I'm like, little old me going there with all the guys out there. It was a group of 8 warehouse guys. I go out there, y que lo pucho. I'm like, don't, because in any type of company that you work with, if you do a physical violence or something, you're gonna be fired right off the bat. He was a great employee. I didn't want him to get fired, so I go out there and I push him off. I don't know how I was able to do it, because I'm like 120.
Adrenaline.
Like
adrenaline.
And then I just push him off, and I'm like, don't do it. And then I see all the other guys coming and helping, trying to help me out too, and trying to stop this fight. And it just became a whole lot of mess that day. And I remember at the end, I spoke with the individual, and I'm like, what happened? How did that commotion all happen? And he told me, oh, this guy called me the N-word. And I'm like, okay, I see you're not too well right now. You're not going to be working well because you're not mentally stable at the moment with all that happened, emotionally stable either. Go home, take the rest of the day off. I'll deal with the whole situation and try and work with my manager, with the plant manager, and try to resolve this whole thing. I spoke with the driver that had caused the incident, and I heard his story as well. He had been saying that he didn't call him that my employee had been the one at the fault, that he was the aggressive one. So it was a whole lot of political stuff that had to happen, safety aspects, trying to deal with trying to make my employees feel good, because if I didn't know how to act or how to know how to react to the situation, I may be losing a good employee over something that he didn't even do. So I had to be sure how to balance everything out. So it was a lot to do, especially since it was one of the biggest issues that we had. But one thing that you have to do is always remain calm and try and listen to both stories of everything that's happening. So have to remain calm, try and use your common sense as much as possible. Yes, you're going to panic because you're like, what am I going to do? I've never had this experience before, but try and stay calm. Try and use your instinct in this as well. Listen to the people's stories and what they're saying. Try and hear both and go into something that you can talk to your manager so they can also make a good conclusion out of it. What other conflicts did I deal with? There were some days that people just came in a bad mood. I remember one day I was back in the supervising the prep area where they prepped and sandblasted all the metals and inserts. He was a very calm guy. He was always very calm and very conflicted. And I'm like, he's a very chill guy. Un día, de repente, I guess, durmió en el lado malo de la cama. And he just exploded on me on one day. And he just vented out. And I'm like, pues, ¿qué le pasó? I just had to be this psychologist sometimes. I felt like I was a mother, a teacher, sometimes a doctor. I was various roles in my supervisor position. So you have to mold yourself into different types of personalities that you deal with. I had to be the gangster, I had to be the Latina, I had to be the one that will hear you out. So you just have to mold to different types of things in order to be able to know how to resolve the conflict. Some people, they are okay just by you listening to them and they get it out. Some people just want to vent it out and they just take off the day. And you're like, okay, you have days, you feel like you can't work. Well, I approve your time and we'll go and refresh and go talk to your family member, whatever you need to. There were some days that nothing happened. Everyone was okay. But the ones that did have a lot of conflicts, one, calm down, don't panic, because if you panic, that's not going to really help you think. So calm down, analyze the situation, and then come into a conclusion of what could be the best thing to do.
I'll go over one, and back from college when I was president, because I remember this very clearly. So I was president, and the rest, we only had 6 other people on the executive board, because at the time we did not have the split between VPs, so we only had one VP. And then we had it at the time, we had it where every general meeting, there were certain people assigned to, like, okay, figure out the food logistics, figure out the speakers, who's going to be the guest speaker, who are going to be the main, like, 2 executive board speakers to present the slides, etc. And so I remember, I think myself and the VP, we were in charge of the slides. So we didn't worry about the food because the 2 guys that were in charge of the food had been a part of the e-board, or at least knew what to do in some capacity from the year before. So I was very confident that they could figure it out. It was our first general meeting. As you guys know, first general meetings are always the biggest, right? So at the time, I think we had 150, and that was the largest we had at the time, because I think at the time we had maybe less than 100 active members, maybe like 80, something like that. So 150 at the time was a lot. And so we were so excited, like, okay, we have people signing in. And then I asked I think it was either treasurer or secretary, I was like, hey, where's the food? Like, are you guys did you guys leave it in the lounge or something? They're like, oh, no, it's going to be here. They're coming in like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, we're like 15 minutes away from starting the meeting, so it's fine. And then I asked again, like, okay, where's the food? We're about to start and I don't see anything. And he's like, oh, we had to go pick it up because we put in the wrong order, or like we put in the wrong like delivery pickup. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I was already very irritated because I mean, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of people. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so 5 more minutes pass by, nothing happens. 5 or 10 more minutes, nothing happens. I find out that they didn't even get cups. They didn't get plates, napkins, like everything was missing. So then I went outside the room. They were outside as well. And I just let it rip. I remember, I mean, I was angry. I was like, I was relying on you. Like, it was your responsibility. How do you not think of like, okay, you're ordering the food. You need utensils, you need plates, you need like, you know this. So I was very, very upset. And I let it get to the point where I started yelling at them. And there were other people walking by. So that was not very presidential like. That was not the right way to handle that conflict. Yes, it's okay to be frustrated because this is something that should have been taken care of. But at the same time, like, that's not the best way to get their buy-in of like, okay, like, yes, we messed up, but how do we move forward? Like, what do we do from now, right? Because we have 150 people and they're waiting for us to start or waiting for us to feed them. And we have the food, but we don't have plates, napkins, etc. What do we do? So they actually called me out and they're like, hey, this is not the time and place for you to be yelling at us. Yes, we messed up. We didn't get it, but we need to figure out what to do in the next 5 to 10 minutes because it's already 7:30 and we haven't started. And so that kind of took me back and I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? You're right. Let's go. We figured something out by 7:40. We were starting the meeting already. And then afterwards I had a 2-on-1, I guess, because it was them two and myself. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to apologize. I did not act the way that I needed to. I let, my irritability get the best of me and I yelled at you and I'm sorry. I think moving forward, there needs to be more communication so that this does not happen again. And I promise that I'm also going to get better with like my conflict resolution and being more calm about the situation. So from then on, I took it to heart in whatever conflict situation it was, whether it was at work, personal, with family, etc. Be calm. Just how Rosie said, you have to be calm in order for you to think rationally, like, okay, this is happening. What is our plan moving forward? Whether it's like, okay, we need to figure out what we're going to do, or figure out like, are we going to talk about this right now? Are we going to let ourselves cool off? Are we going to come back to it and then move on from there? So that was my my story, and I wanted to share one in the school perspective because I know that's very relevant to you guys right now.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you very much to you both. They are like such powerful story, and I love it for every single piece of it from Rosie's and both Cindy, and definitely Cindy, your story is really relevant. Well, it's not like the exact same thing, but the thing is like conflict like that does happen a lot, and in just in different forms and different way, and the solutions is I think it's always that calm is coming first, right? So that we be able to think before we, propose a solution. So I think it's really great to hear from you both. So, all right, so let's cover our last topic. So leading in a male-dominated industry. So I really wanted to bring this topic up because most of our attendees today, we have a lot of SHPEtina here. So I do a little bit of research. So according to Cornell University study, women in male-dominated career face challenges such as lack of support, both emotionally and financially, feeling incompetent, mistreatment, and lack of voice. So have you ever identified yourself with, some of these, and how can women in STEM thrive in a male-dominated industry?
So in my case, I definitely have felt lack of support before. And for me, it was more emotional. Coming in, I mean, I was scared. This was going to be my first manufacturing experience. I didn't have any previous manufacturing internships or anything. So I didn't know where to start. I was just kind of coming in very timid, which if you know me, what the heck, I'm very like outgoing and go-getter. But I mean, I was very scared. I want to make a good impression. I don't want to make it seem like, I'm coming in here, I know what I'm doing, but also I don't want people to think like, oh, she doesn't know anything. I want to be able to give my part, contribute my part to the team. So what I did was I knew a lot of people who like Rosie, but in addition to Rosie, I reached out to a couple of other alumni that I knew were a part of Schlumberger and a part of the rotation of, or Cameron at the time. And they were a part of the rotational program as well. So I asked them, hey, what do you do when you feel like you should know things and you don't know anything, so you can't contribute? I feel like I'm just there, I'm useless. And they kind of helped me. I grew my group of support, and they weren't all just women. I mean, women definitely help, developing that support group full of women, because you're not the only one, but it definitely helps to know that you have allies on your side that are also men. Because I actually found a mentor in the same facility that I was at, and he was great. I mean, he said, like, don't be afraid to voice your opinion, even if you think that, and Rosie, it was Drew. Drew was so great to me. He took me under his wing. He said, you know what, it's fine if you don't feel comfortable asking certain questions, but like when you're in a group or in a conference call, whatever it is, but ask me anything and everything. It's better for you to ask me and find out now, and maybe you feel silly, cool, but it's better to ask me now than you ask me a year from now when you should already have this, like, know that, whatever it is, and look like a fool in front of other people. So whatever it is, ask me. And from there, we established that from that day one, we established a really good communication and relationship with each other. So that was lack of support. And then feeling incompetent, sometimes I still feel this way because it's been 2 years that I've been in this role as project coordinator, and there's still so much that I don't know. And I know this, but sometimes, people come to me as, oh, well, you're the project lead, so you should know this, right? Where's the MDR or where's the CTR? And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but you know what? I can find it for you. So I put on this, I'm optimistic about it. I try to help them as much as possible. And I have a good network of people. So I know that I can always leverage that. But then when it comes to like, man, I should really know this. Like, I feel down because I feel incompetent. I feel useless. I should know this. It's been 2 years that I've been on this role. But you just have to think to yourself like, okay, you don't know everything, and that is okay. That will always be okay, as long as you are eager to find out the answer, right? If you don't know something, you're like, oh, well, I don't know, ask this person. And then you move on to the next thing. There's a difference between that, like, oh, I don't know, but I think, let me reach out to my friend, or let me reach out to Rosie. Maybe she's been in drilling before. She's a warehouse supervisor. This kind of fits in with her thing. Let me talk to her and see if she knows. Then I talk to her, I make that connection. Then that person now knows Rosie. Rosie knows that person, and I know more, whatever the heck that question was, right? So we all kind of help each other. So that's where I am eager to find out and help that person figure it out, versus just like, oh, I don't know. Good luck though. So that kind of helps me.
It's definitely applicable to academia a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Rosie, you want to share your story?
Well, fortunately enough for me, I've had a blessing with the people that I work with, as well as with managers. So I've had the support emotionally and financially. Needs treatment, I don't think I've felt mistreated yet. Maybe I mistreat them. I may be the bully. I don't know. Who knows? No, I'm kidding. The lack of voice. I guess in the beginning, I had that because we all start off like very shy and trying to impress everyone the way you are. So you start off like just very quiet to yourself, but then the second year is like boom. It's like when you start off in college, it's you're all timid, and then out of nowhere, boom, college experience happens. Y ya eres otra. They're like, who is this? Like when I tell people I was shy, que I will get red, I will get all like, con que me hablara un muchacho, I was already like blushing to him and me decía nada. So that was me at the beginning, but over time, like you get more exposed to stuff, and eventually you overcome that fear. But for me, I guess it's been the feeling incompetence. Like here and there, you do feel whenever you start something new that you're not too sure about, you have that feeling of uneasiness of whether you're doing a good job or not. But I've always had good people around me who've always supported me and always told me, échale ganas, si puedes, you've done this before, you can do this as well, apply it the same way. So fortunately enough for me, I've had really good support system. So even though I've mainly worked with a lot of guys, supervisor, I worked with about 8, 9 people at the warehouse that were all guys. I was the only female. The good thing is that you have a clean restroom, so you don't have to get an issue. And then at the manufacturing plant, I oversaw about 35 people in first shift and about 30 as well in second shift. And as manager, I've managed right now about 8, 10 people as well. But overall, it's been really, really good. And the way that I've seen that you can thrive in a male-dominated industry is really be yourself. That's what I think is the key to go there with an open mind and go learn from the people. Don't go and demand people to do stuff for you. That's one of the things I've had. I think I had 1 or 2 people that were my bosses, and I saw the way they manage people, and I learned from them what things not to do to not do that stuff whenever I became a manager. So I learned a lot from the good managers as well as from the bad managers, because from the good ones, I was able to see what I wanted to do to be like that with my employees. But I also am grateful that I had experiences with some bad managers, not in the way that they were mistreating me or anything. It was just more of the way they treated other people. Like they would just go out there and demand and like, do this, do that. And they would not really ask them in a very good way, per se, that they lack those people skills. But I was like, I'll make sure to not do that because se ve muy feo. It's one of the things my mom always told me, like, no hagas eso porque se ve feo. But the way that they were talking to that individual is like, I don't want someone to treat me that same way. I want people to treat me the same way I treat them. So to thrive in a nominated field, you have to be yourself, listen to the people, go with a humbling attitude, ready to learn, and learn from them because they are the experts out in the field. They have been doing this for years. They have a lot of tips and advice that they may offer you. It's like you're working with maybe your mother or your dad or your sibling. You're learning from these people out there that are in the shop, whether it's in the shop or in the corporate. There's people there that you can be working that are like your family members. So learning to listen to them, to work alongside them, don't demand them to do something, and you'll be able to build that good relationship with them. And you won't even feel like you're the girl. You will just feel one of them as a whole. I felt more like the cool person in the group, and I haven't felt too much isolation, which is really good. And Schlumberger I've seen has a lot of good people. You build that network, and it's always good to keep that network with people. Like with Cindy, we always kept that communication going with other type of individuals, like maybe Rebecca. I don't know if you guys know Rebecca Olivera or Emily Villa. Like we have several people within SHPE U of H and SHPE Houston that we all kept that communication and now work in Schlumberger. So we keep that within males and females, trying to keep growing that network.
I think one last thing to add is if there's no space for you at the table, make your own space. And that ties in with what Rosie said, be yourself, but unapologetically be yourself. Don't be afraid to take up space. Don't be afraid to like, oh, well, what if I'm the first woman? Okay, that's even more badass. You're the first woman in this team and there's a reason why you were hired or, appointed or elected or whatever the case may be. There's a reason why you're in that position that you are in right now, because you have that capacity, you have that potential, you have that energy, whatever it is, you have something that somebody saw, and you need to capitalize on that. So do not be afraid to take space at the table, whether there's a seat for you or not. Bring your own seat, make your own seat. Boom.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God, that's a good closing. I'm like clapping everything else, like Chris screaming, yes. Oh my God, I love that advice. Oh, that was great. I mean, you want to do the period? Period.
Period. No,
That's
but in
perfect.
all seriousness, like, do not be afraid to be yourself and make your own role.
Plus,
Right.
you're a girl. Guys' weaknesses are girls. Come on.
All right. So before we move on to the next section, which is the forum and the Q&A, and this time we want to have everybody to interact in this forum, like everybody in the participant. I know, hearing with all the amazing story, I know the participants really have a lot of burning questions already. But before doing that, we're gonna take a pictures together. So let me see. How am I gonna stop sharing my screen? All right. Stop sharing my screen for a second. And okay, everybody, don't be shy. You know, Rosie and Cindy have shared all their experience and they are here for us. So don't be shy. Let's take a pictures together, all of us. You all are beautiful. All right. Everybody, turn on your camera. You are perfect. Yes, turn on your camera. Right. I'll just wait for a few more seconds.
I think it disappeared.
Okay. Yeah. There we go. Initiative. There we go. All right. Vanessa, don't be shy. Monica.
I'm sorry. I'm out here in the country, like bad signal and everything. Sorry.
It's okay. All right. Don't be shy, everyone. I think we're ready. Yeah. Javi, you ready? You want to throw the pots up? All right.
Am I taking the picture or are you taking the picture?
Do you want to take the pictures, right? You can take the picture.
Okay. All right. Pause up. 3, 2. Oh wait, hold. 3, 2, 1. And got it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Javi, for taking
I
initiative.
got it. Hold up. I think I got it.
All right. Don't scare me.
I got it. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I get to share my screen one last time. So yeah, this next part is going to be does it work? Okay. Yeah, so this next part is just going to be an open forum and Q&A, and I would encourage every single one of you to, you know, turn up your mic and just ask your questions. I do have some questions on the side, but you know, I want you to ask the questions. Anything that you want our amazing representative to elaborate a little bit more on for you. I'll just wait for a few seconds.
There was
Don't
a
be
question
shy.
on the chat that I'd like to address. How do we join SHPE Houston? So I think Samantha already logged off, but just so it's on the recording. So in order to join SHPE Houston, you can join after graduation. So once you graduate, then you will be able to go onto shpconnect.com. And then instead of selecting the student membership, you'll select the professional membership and it'll automatically be applied. So.
Thank you, Cindy, for the information. All right, anyone? Dami, do you have any question for our rep?
I didn't want to break the ice, but I do.
I got it. I can.
Okay, Mitzi
Yes.
got it. Yes.
Mitzi, go Mitzi.
Okay, so I know, I forgot if it was you, Rosie, or Cindy, that y'all said that like your manager left you on your own.
Me.
Rosie, yeah.
Rosie,
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same situation right now. So maybe some more advice or feedback on what I should do. I mean, they put me another manager, but it's not the same because it's just not. I know the same attention or training is not going to be given to me as what I thought that was going to be given.
Yeah. How long have you been working with your other manager?
For 2 months.
You had a little bit more time. Yeah. So in my situation, I came over because I really liked him. I had met him back when I was in my GRDP role back in Louisiana, and we had kept in communication ever since. And then one day he rescued me from Katie, and I'm like, sure, I'll go over there and work for you. I don't mind. I've been wanting to work with you, so hell yeah, I'm gonna do it. So then he hired me on, and I'm like, cool. I'm finally working with a cool manager. I'm gonna be with him. So then he got me in his office one day. Luego me dice, hey, I have some news to tell you, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good. So then he just threw me the ball, and I'm like, what? What? We just told me you were gonna mentor me, que me ibas a preparar, que you promised, and you me bajaste la luna y las estrellas, and then you're just gonna like just drop me here dead, like with some people that I'm barely getting to know. Like I barely know the product. I don't even know what I'm doing in my role. But I'm like, I'm happy for you, but I'm sad and mad at you because you're leaving me. But I mean, that's gonna happen regardless you like the manager or you don't like the manager. It's gonna happen in whatever type of role that you apply with. You're gonna be going at a team, and I've had managers go in and come in during my whole time. Even when I was in Katie, I had a great manager in my when I was a warehouse supervisor. And 3 months later, he left as well. He got promoted to another company outside. So he didn't even stay within Schlumberger or Cameron. He left completely. And someone else came aboard, and I had her accustomed to that person as well. So one thing I do tell you is don't make any judgments on your new manager. Get to know him first, see how he is. You have like a co-relationship with your last manager, you have like meetings with him. Do plan on maybe meeting with this new manager and see what type of things he wants to get out of the whole team. I don't know if it's like a whole team that you work with or an individual person that he's working only with you, but I do recommend you go and maybe schedule the meeting, or you just, if it's an open door policy, go knock on his door and just talk with him and be like, hey, so what type of plan do you have for the team, or what are you trying to accomplish for us? Anything that you see or are trying to get out of this new team that you're now working with? What are your goals? And then based on that, see if that aligns with what you're doing, and get to know him little by little. Maybe go out and do a lunch with the whole team. Get to know the manager a little bit more, because sometimes they look a little bit scary and they have that resting beautiful face. I'm not gonna cuss, that resting beautiful face. And you get to know them, and they tend to be very knowledgeable individuals that you're like, hey, you look scary at first, but I kind of like you. But you just get to know that person little by little and approach him. Don't be scared. Yeah, he's your new manager, but the more, because he's also might be scared. You don't know what he's feeling as well, because he's coming to a new team and he's these new personalities that he has to dealing with. You also have to get in his shoes and see maybe he's also intimidated with this new team. So get to know him little by little, break the ice, and then get to know him and see what his mentality is to the team is. But eventually it's going to be something in a good outcome.
I have a question, Mitzi. Do you think it's because like how your new manager is, or just the
fact that I feel like I've been left alone?
Okay.
Yeah,
it's normal.
No, the manager has been there, and I know who he is, so it's not so much about. But then at the same time, the other one was more like, let's get this done. And he would walk with me and everything. And I felt like I was being guided. But with this one, I feel like I'm on my own. And I also like not sure what to do, what not to do, what to focus on, what's priority.
Is he knowledgeable on the subject as well? He just got transitioned to the thing.
He's very knowledgeable, and he's been there for a while. But the thing is that, let's say my position or what he might want me to do has nothing to do with my position sometimes. And I'm just like, I want to help, but I also don't want to do the job of others, or do the job and then others think that I just have to do it every single time instead of like helping them.
I think you need to have this communication with him. I think like how you're feeling, what you're telling us, I feel like you need to have this communication with him. Like have a meeting with him and tell him like, look, I need to know exactly what your expectations are of me, because from what I understand, my role is to do this, right? And if that's his opportunity to tell you, well, no, I want you to focus more on this, this, and that. And then that's where you guys can meet and close the gap, right? Like, okay, what are his expectations and what are your expectations? If they don't meet, obviously there's something wrong and y'all need to figure that out.
No, not just that, that the thing is that I'm now the only person left in that department.
You're now or not?
Yes, I am. Like, I'm the only one within that. So like, I'm obviously not gonna get a raise to do what the guy that just left is like not doing, because I have to do it now. So
Okay.
it's things like that too. So I mean, I'm sure I have to sit down and get that talk, but then he is also prioritizing other things as well. So.
But it's still important, right?
Yeah.
It's still important for him to dedicate some time to you, because if you don't have the guidance that you need, or you don't have that expectations or that direction, then how is he going to expect you to do everything? And you only have 8 hours in a day, technically, if you're salary, you only have 8 hours in a day to do XYZ. So if he wants to add the entire alphabet for you to do in 8 hours, that's not going to happen. And he needs to understand that. Now, if there continues to be issues where he's just piling things on, or he's not helping you, or he's not giving you guidance, and you've talked to him, you've reached out, you've expressed the way that you feel, and nothing happens, then I think it's you need to elevate that with his manager or whoever it is. Rosie, I mean, what do you think?
Yep, that's the main thing you have to do right now is talk to him. You have to put him, what are, like she was saying, expectations, like what do you want out of this? Because it's more of like, now it's just you and him. It's going to be like a work relationship between you guys as to what, so you need to have that. It could be something like very, very chill meeting. Doesn't have to be very professional. Con saco y todo. You don't have to do that. Just like go there and just talk to him like, hey, so I was used to doing this. I was working on this project. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to continue doing this? Or do you have other ideas in mind? Anything that I can help you along with this? So what are you trying to bring to me? Like, you have to get that communication going with him, and then have maybe weekly meetings with him, trying to follow up on the stuff that you're doing. So that way you keep that communication, and if there's something that you don't know, maybe he can help you or point you to the right direction, or take some stuff out of you. But you have to get that relationship going with your manager. Maybe hopefully he's not grumpy, right?
No,
he's not. Okay. Then yeah, don't be afraid to go to the boss. Sometimes we need to hear our employees tell us what they need to, because we don't.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And I think we have time for one last question. Daimi, you wanna say your question?
Yes, of course. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, both Cindy and Rosie, for all the amazing advices that you guys were giving out today. My question is more like, sometimes you might feel like you do have within your team like teammates that oppose you, or maybe like that's when you feel like the whole world is conspiring against you, or why not? Have you ever been in that situation, / how do you handle this?
Like the whole team is against you?
Yeah.
Or one person?
It could either be the whole team against you, or like a majority of the team might be against you. So you're feeling like you might be losing control because it's getting split or stuff like that, the team. So how would you handle kind of this situation?
Go egg all of their houses. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. So I'll think back of, I'm thinking back when I was on e-board, and there were multiple times across different e-boards where there was, I mean, how to handle national convention was always the case. That was always the biggest argument of the year within the e-board. And I remember when I was president was very different than when I was a career fair chair, because I was still involved in those discussions. So when I was president, I like my type of leadership style is like, well, I want to know what everybody thinks. And it was very hard for me to hear that like mostly everybody was against, or they were not for, not to say, because I feel like against is very like violent or very negative, but They just did not prefer the way that I was thinking about going with national convention logistics and everything. And I was very upset. But I'm like, how do you not see this? This is the best way possible. This is back when I didn't have a lot of good conflict resolution skills. Okay. So I'm like, what do you mean? And so we ended up not doing that my way. We ended up doing the majority's way, because again, I wanted to stick with my leadership style of, okay, majority votes on big topics, right? And that was the biggest topic. And it was voted against me to do it a different way. I was upset. And I did take it personally, like, oh, okay, well, I guess these people like don't care like the way that I think of things, or don't care for my contributions. But you have to think about the big picture. In that case, it's not that they didn't like what I brought to the table. They didn't like me. It wasn't that. It was that everybody is and should be thinking for what's best for the organization, what's best for our members, what's the best way that we can do with the resources that we have right now. And you know, a lot of times it's not going to go the way that you want it to go, and that's just something that you have to accept. That was one time. And then when I was in the career fair committee chair, that year was a different year. I was not on the e-board, but I was still involved with those conversations. And that was an even worse time, I guess, because then like there was a division between the executive boards. So, and that bled into other events and just kind of cliques. And so what I personally did, I said, I can't really fix this, but I can bring you guys together and tell you from a member view that y'all are stupid, and that obviously not that way, right? But I was like, look, this is really affecting our members, because our members are feeling the shift and the tension between the two groups within the executive board, and that's going to drive you guys to the ground. I talked to the main person on one side and the main person on the other side, and then eventually they got together. I mean, I did what I could, right? I can't say like, okay, y'all need to talk about it and be okay with it and fix this right now. I can't do that. As somebody that's not on the executive board, I could only like, hey, I'm gonna talk to you, and I'm gonna talk to you because I'm seeing this as a member. It's affecting the way that you guys are managing your membership. And your membership is also going to take note and become cliquey as well. And that's what we're trying to avoid. At the time, that was like, I think the biggest thing. I don't know, Rosie, if you have like a work example.
I actually do. I guess one where I thought everyone was against me was actually earlier this year. I was still production supervisor, and was going through like furloughs. Our hourly employees were doing furloughs times, and they were all on the unemployment still. So they were working 32 hours and then one day off, and then vice versa. And then I had to bring the good news to them, which wasn't too good to them. They were going to go back to 40 hours. So they were going to stop being unemployment and back to 40 and working overtime Saturdays. So they started, and weekdays as well. So not only were they going to work 40 hours, but they were going to start going in at 4 a.m. or staying a little bit after. You would think they would be happy because we get back to production, right? Well, no. These guys threw a tantrum because why are we going to go back to 40 hours? Why are you going to make it mandatory? Que esto, que el otro, que I get more from unemployment, que quién sabe qué. And I'm like, I'm just the owl giving y'all the news. Like, I don't make the big decisions. I'm just telling you guys what's happening. But it was about a group of 20 people that were not too happy. And I had to tell them on both shifts. And I'm like, I mentally prepared myself a day before. Trust me, I had to, because the way that these people were, sometimes it was just like you were dealing with little kids. So I made sure to prepare myself mentally, like, okay, tomorrow's going to be a bad day. No voy a comer. I'm going to be in a bad mood. So I just prepared myself mentally what I would expect the next day. And dicho y hecho, I told them the news, and yes, they were not happy. But what I always told myself is really it was just the way that work is. People are not going to always like the decisions that happen. that's how work is. That's how really life is. And even right now in the roles that I'm doing, there are some decisions that not everyone's going to be happy with. I mean, recently, I'm trying to increase our employee engagement a little bit more at where I'm at, because we don't have really nothing going on. So I'm trying to bring like, oh, let's recognize our employee of the quarter. Let's recognize the best safety observation that the employee did. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to buy them a gift, it has to be something that will be eaten for everyone. Maybe that person may not like it, or maybe they will. And surely there was always one bad apple in the bunch. I bought them there was 3 ladies, their birthdays. And I'm gonna get something simple like a Bath and Body Works lotion and body mist. So 2 of them were pretty happy. Yeah, there was just one little bad apple that she's like, this is it. I'm like, well, why are you expecting a freaking car? Like, you were not always gonna have people happy with what happens. Decisions, people might be accepting it. Other people are gonna be maybe ungrateful, and they're not gonna see the whole message of it. So it's okay if you make a decision or something is made, but not everyone is going to be happy with the outcome. And don't feel like a failure. Don't feel like everything the world got down because that just one person was like, no, I'm not going to take it. Don't let just one little person make you feel like a disappointment, because it takes more people. You have to see the positive aspect. You impacted 8 more that they're grateful because you're actually thinking about them as a thankful for what you're doing. But don't let that one bad apple just ruin your whole gift or the good thing that you're bringing to the whole team. But yeah, I had some experiences, but overall you have to think of a good personality, keep that bubbly spirit, and just breathe. Everything's gonna be all right, and you'll be okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to both Cindy and Rosie. I cannot say thank you enough, because I just asked you to come, but then you really share your story. You really open our eyes, and like it's just like tons of leadership experience that's coming out of your story, and just the amount of energy that you put into your story. It's such an amazing, it makes this event such an amazing event. So thank you very much for both of you. I know that I went over 40 minutes, and you guys are still here, and most of the participants are still here as well. So, kudos to every single one of you. Well, thank you very much. Well, I wanna leave to you guys, if you guys have any last word to our SHPEtina in the participants, or closing the event. And thank you to everyone.
Rosie mentioned this on the chat earlier. Feel free to link up with us on LinkedIn. You can find us Cindy Sanchez, Rosie Ortiz. Ask us any questions. Also, SHPE Houston, if you guys are interested, we have professional development series all throughout this year. And you guys are more than welcome to come out. We will be sharing that with your executive board, so you guys should be seeing those come across throughout the year. And we have our general meeting on September 22nd, which I believe is a Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's going to be virtual. So if you guys would like to know more about what SHPE Houston does, what kind of events we're going to be hosting, just log in at 7 p.m. We'll send the Facebook invites shortly, and you can find out more.
I better see Taimi and Kwang join us.
Amy called out.
Definitely, no, definitely. I already signed up.
We always do infiltrados, and in Facebook we always
No,
get
we always do.
notification. We'll make sure to share also with the chapter for sure. Yes. Yeah.
For sure. And then
Yes.
and then finger crossed, I think we're gonna have many event with SHPE Houston to come. Which is we haven't have the consolidation planned yet, but like we for sure will.
Yes.
So definitely we're gonna need a lot of help from you guys. So, but then thank you so much, because this is out of your personal time to come into us, and you guys just being amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We love doing this. Thank you for having us.
Rosie is working the 32 hours plus the hours after, so she better don't hate us. Just kidding, but for sure, thank you so much for making it. And just like Wayne mentioned, for those of you who stayed until right now, definitely kudos for that. And like I mentioned at the beginning, there's going to be more of this. We're going to have more of the SHPEtina series, different events, personal development coming up next with self-defense classes.
Self-defense.
Yes, we need to know how to kick something. I'm not gonna say that
And
word because it's been recorded.
And it's very likely it's going to be taught by one of our SHPEtina as well. So a Chef UH alumna.
Yes.
So it's going to be so exciting. I'm so excited for the series. And, you know, you guys just kick it out the part for the first one. So thank you.
Love it.
Thank y'all.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you,
Stay
everyone.
dry.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.